Welcome to the first session tonight. We are talking about intimacy, where it continues. Intimacy, where it continues. If you remember, we said communication is where it all begins. We said money is where it all ends. Okay. Intimacy is where it continues. That means if your relationship, if your marriage will fare well, if you are going to enjoy continual peace in your marriage, tonight's discussion is very, very important, which is intimacy. Yes, you started the relationship, the marriage with communication, and then you you continue to communicate. But intimacy is very, very important. So that is where it continues. So tonight we'll get to know about intimacy and its importance. What are the objectives for this course? Understanding communication and intimacy. Number two, four areas of intimacy: the purpose of sex in marriage, the reigniting your sex life for those that are already married, that are on the session. So let's talk about intimacy. Intimacy is the oil that lubricates the marriage relationship. Without it, the engine will knock. Yesterday, we learned that communication is the engine that drives the relationship, but intimacy is actually the oil that lubricates the engine. If you look at an engine, maybe a generator, a plant, a machine, you'll see that when there is no oil, what can happen to that machine? Mr. Joshua, what do you think will happen to a generator if there is no oil in the generator?
There will be so much friction and there will be a lot of wear and tear, and
Great, great.
that can cause to knock that can lead to knocking and
Thank
failure
you,
of the
thank
entire engine.
thank you. So oil is very, very important in an engine. If there is no oil, there will be friction. There will be friction, wear and tear. There will be sparks. So the reason why you lubricate moving parts in an engine is so that there will be no friction, so that everything can continue to work. So every vehicle goes for servicing. And when they service the vehicle, they change the oil, they put in fresh oil. Okay. And when they put in fresh oil and service the engine, you see that the sound of the engine or the sound of the vehicle will change. It will show that yes, this vehicle or this engine has just been serviced. And then when there is no oil in the engine, when the oil runs out, then the engine can actually knock, can break down. And when the engine knocks, the vehicle packs up, because the major thing that makes the vehicle alive is the engine. If the engine is not there, all what you have left is just the carcass, just the body, and nothing moves the vehicle. So quality romance and intimacy reduces the frequency of conflicts among married couples. Yes, the research has shown it, that couples that have quality time for romance and intimacy, they they seldomly, the rate of conflict actually is very, very minimal. The frequency of conflict in such marriages is very minimal. Couples that have sex daily have less friction in marriage. So there's something like sexometer, if there's something like that, that actually measures their gauges. Couples, and that the research actually shows that couples that engage in sexual intimacy from time to time regularly, they have less friction. Couples that have sex daily, they have less friction in marriage. Those that have it 2 to 3 times a week, that is still stable. Once a week or once in 2 weeks, they quarrel more. Couples that have it once in 2 weeks, they quarrel more. Once in a month or 3 months, fight well. Couples that have it once in a month or once in 3 months, they fight very, very well. It has been actually scientifically proven. So when there is no oil in the engine, there will be
Yes, some
problem.
of the things
There will be problem.
in the bread council.
So one of the things that is very, very important to note is this. You see, when oil begins to run out in an engine, will show there is something called like a threshold. For every man, there is a threshold. There is a number, especially when the man is married. There's a threshold of the number of days a man can actually stay without having meeting the wife. So once that threshold is exhausted, the man will begin to misbehave at home. There will be friction between the man and the woman. So when there is constant conflict, they're always arguing. A couple always fighting, always quarreling. If you look at it critically, you will see that at the bottom of their conflict, it could actually be their intimacy is not going well. 4 areas of intimacy. So intimacy goes beyond sex. Intimacy goes beyond physical intimacy. So there are 4 major areas of intimacy. We have physical or emotional intimacy. We have spiritual intimacy. There is social intimacy. There is intellectual intimacy. Now, the arrangement of these 4 is not in any order of importance. But the truth is that for every individual, they have their preference out of all these 4 areas of intimacy. They have one that is more importance to them than the other. Everyone does have their own order of importance or priority for these 4. So one of the assignments that we'll be giving to everybody right now is that you are going to list these 4 areas of intimacy in order of importance to you. So for most men, physical emotional intimacy is very, very important for most men. Not because they are carnal people, but because of how they are wired. Okay, the way a man biologically, okay, the way a man is wired is different from the way a woman is wired. So for a woman, physical emotional intimacy may not be number 1 on the list, but for most men, it is number 1. And if that is not in order, spiritual intimacy, social and intellectual, every other one will be affected. So for the married couples on the platform, I would have loved them to give us their view on which one comes first. Because for those that are intending couples, you may not be able to know for now. Yes, if I ask you to, you might just be saying that my spiritual intimacy is very important, is the number 1. But the truth is, when you get into marriage, you actually begin to see the reality. All right. Now let's proceed. The purpose of sex. Remember, I said there are 4 areas of intimacy. So before we talk about the purpose of sex, I will talk about the 4 areas of intimacy. Let me just quickly talk about the 4 areas. Number 1, physical or emotional intimacy is the level of intimacy where the couple understands each other's feelings. Your spouse does not need to say a word before you understand how he or she is feeling. This is an important process in building a successful marriage because what we say is only 7% of what we are saying. So physical, emotional intimacy is very, very important. In fact, intimacy also can simply means intimacy. If you break the word intimacy, that means you are actually making yourself vulnerable for your spouse. Your spouse, it's a very high level of connection. Intimacy is the highest level of connection between 2 people. So when you talk about couples that are married, intimacy is very, very important. That is what bonds them together. In fact, just the way sex and intimacy is the oil that lubricates the engine. It is like the cement that you use to plaster the wall. If you are building, if you are erecting a building and you mount your blocks, your building blocks, you place them one on the other. You need a cement. You need the cement to do what? To plaster the wall, to plaster the blocks so that they don't fall off. The cement that you use to plaster the building of love in marriage is actually sexual intimacy. It's physical intimacy, sex. So if that is not in place, then the building will be shaken. If that is not in place, there will be problem in the marriage. It's very important. Spiritual intimacy is also a higher level of communication and understanding on spiritual matters, when husband and wife can actually connect on spiritual matters, spiritual terms. One way to notice spiritual intimacy is your communication with God on matters concerning the marriage and the household. Husband and wife are the pastors and co-pastors of the church in their house. They must develop the right spiritual chemistry to minister to their household. Now, we said it when we were talking about what understanding marriage. Yeah, one of the topics we took at the beginning, understanding marriage. We said that one of the things that marriage is that marriage is a ministry. And everyone in that marriage is a minister. The husband has an assignment. So a minister is not somebody that carries microphone in the church to minister. No, a minister is a servant. A minister is somebody that is serving a purpose. A minister is somebody that is serving the purpose of God, all right? Meeting the needs of others. So in marriage, the man is a minister, ministering to is serving as a priest in the marriage. That is where spiritual intimacy comes in. And it's very, very important. One of the things a man needs to do before he gets married is to grow up spiritually. Spiritual maturity is very important. Marriage is not for babes. It's not for babes emotionally. Marriage is not for boys and girls. It's for matured men and women. Matured physically, matured spiritually. So it is always advised that a lady should not submit herself or should not give herself in marriage to a man that cannot be her head spiritually. Because when the head is faulty, it will affect the whole body. If the head, somebody that is going to be your head as a lady, if he's somebody that you need to push him as a wheelbarrow before he prays, before he goes to church, you need to push him. If the woman, the lady is always being the one to tell the brother, are we not going to church? Are we not doing this? If the lady is the one saying, are we not going to pray tonight? Are we not going to? Then something is wrong with that man. The man is the priest of the family. And that is why the Bible says the man is the head of the wife, just the way Christ is the head of the church. So just the way Christ is the head of the church, that is how the man is the head of the wife. He's standing as a priest before God on behalf of the family. So it's a very, very important assignment. The man must be able to intercede on behalf of the family. He must be able to take the requests of the family before God and receive a word for the family on what direction to go on certain issues. So that level is very, very important. Spiritual intimacy between the man and the woman. Both of them are the pastors in the family. They must develop the right spiritual chemistry to minister to their household. The man must be ready to lead devotion, morning devotion, evening devotion at home. Yes, he must be the one leading. Not that you are having devotion, the man cannot even give exhortation. He cannot even lead prayer. He leaves everything to the woman. There are some men in their home. They used to say, thank God, I married a prayer warrior. My wife is a prayer warrior. She's the one that needs to be praying. Me, let me go and get the money. That is very, very wrong. The assignment of the woman is, prayer is not the sole responsibility or assignment of a woman in the home. It begins with the man and then the woman as well. Both of them. They must be involved. So it is wrong for a man to relegate the assignment of prayer to the wife. Let's continue. Social intimacy. This is enjoying each other's company. Be ready to be together. When you see husband and wife that are always together, they are always there are some couples that they love to stay together. They are always together. They prefer to be together and be fighting than to be with other people. That is the level of social intimacy. As we saw earlier, on one of the purposes of marriage is companionship. If you hate to be around each other or can't get along, it's a sign that you are not building a successful marriage. Most successful couples would rather be with each other fighting than have fun with another person, with any other person. So, social intimacy, you go out together, you go for functions together, you wear the same dress. There are some couples, they can't wear the same dress, native. They want to dress separately. Why? Because there is no intimacy, no social intimacy. There is fiction, there is conflict. But when you see a couple that are always together, they are always dressing alike, they wear the same thing, then that is the depth of social intimacy. Then when we talk about intellectual intimacy, it's talking about the level of intimacy at the level of your education, okay, intellectual capacity. You must appreciate that. So that is why it is not too good for somebody that you have a wide gap in your education. It's not too good. Having a wide gap in your education. Maybe the man is a graduate or the woman is a graduate. The man is just a young SSCE graduate. That distance is too far. They will not be able to communicate or connect on intellectual level. They won't be able to connect. So it's important as a man, make sure that as you are growing in the ladder, your wife is also growing with you. As you are improving, your wife is improving. Not that the man is a master's degree holder, the woman has not even gone to the university at all. And then the man is now having PhD and left the wife. The man is just developing himself. The woman cannot flow with him intellectually. It is wrong. So, as a man, you must be committed to developing your wife as you develop yourself. And vice versa, the same applies. The woman is a graduate, she's already doing a master's. The man has not even gone to have first degree. That is not good enough. They will not be able to communicate at intellectual level. And the way they will see things will differ. They will always have conflict. The one that is more schooled and more informed will be able to reason from a different perspective than somebody that is not educated. And that is why the gap must not be there. Both need to grow together. Fact about sex in marriage, it can be an happy ending to some quarrels. Prevents adultery. Yes, sex in marriage prevents adultery. It can be an happy ending to quarrels in marriage. Your mind is the biggest sex organ, not what is down. What does that mean? That means intimacy. Sex for couples does not start on the bed. It starts from the mind. It starts in the mind. If the mind is not at ease, if the mind is disturbed, then there cannot be sexual intimacy. If both of you are quarreling since morning, or you have been having misunderstanding on issues since morning, and then it is now in the evening, man is not trying to make a move. You will not be reset. Why? Because you have not been on the same level since the beginning of the day. So there are ways a man you draw close to your wife, help out with the chores, help out in the kitchen. There are some men they will tell you men don't do house chores. It's a wrong mindset. They will tell you in my village where I came from, men don't do house chores. The fact that your dad did not do it does not mean that is the best way it should be done. You can help yourself, help your wife. Your wife is not a slave in your house. She's meant to submit, not to be subjugated, not that she becomes a slave. No, both of you are meant to serve each other. So you can help out with house chores. You can even help in cooking in the kitchen sometimes. There is no rule that says the woman must always be the one to cook. So it's a very wrong mindset to feel that, okay, it is the woman that must do this. Intimacy is what leads to sex. It is closeness. So sex has both spiritual and physical value. Sex is good. It is of God, given to man by God. So sex is not bad when it is within the confines of marriage. It is given by God for pleasure. We are going to see some benefits of sex now as we proceed, but it is given to every couple by God. It's given to every couple by God. Hallelujah. Now, let's look at the purpose of sex. Number one, sealing the covenant. Sealing the marriage covenant. The marriage covenant has not been sealed until there is sexual intimacy between the man and the woman. Yes, they go to church, they do the traditional marriage maybe a day before, then they go to church, the pastor prays for them, joins them together until there is sexual intimacy, until the two of them come together sexually. The marriage vow, the marriage covenant has not been sealed. The covenant has not been consummated. So when the husband and the wife have not had sex, then that marriage is not, according to the law, the marriage has not been consummated. It can still be broken, according to the law of the land, until both of them come to seal the covenant. So the covenant, that coming together of the man and the woman, is sealing a covenant. There's a blood covenant involved. And that is why fornication is very, very wrong. Having sexual intercourse outside marriage is against the will of God. Why? Because everybody a man or a woman meets with sexually, there is a covenant that has been sealed between them. So a woman that's met with maybe 4 or 5 men before he's getting married already has a covenant with 4 different spirits, 4 different people, and you now bring that into your marriage. And we have seen from counseling sessions, we've heard about people that they begin to see some strange actions in their children, and they cannot trace it. They will be like, your dad does not do like this, your mom does not do like this. Where did you get it from? Some of those things are spirits that have followed either the father or the mother from extramarital affair, intimacy with comes to play. There is a covenant, blood covenant, meaning that when a man sleeps around with ladies, every demon, every spirit that is affecting that lady, every cause that is upon that person is transferred to you. So it's very, very dangerous. But a lot of people don't know. They just think they are having fun, they are enjoying themselves. No. So sex is meant to be within the confines of marriage. Another purpose of sex is for procreation. Children need to be born. Number 3, for pleasure. It is the ultimate pleasure. It is the highest form of pleasure that anybody can experience. But it has to be within marriage. So when couples get married, the greatest form of pleasure a man and a woman can actually have is when they have sex in their marriage. And it's also a recreation. Sex is a sport. Yes, it's recreation. It's a form, it's a way you can actually burn some excess fat in your body, burn calorie. Yes, it has been scientifically proven that sex is actually a sport. It's a recreation, it's a form of recreation between the husband and the wife. You can actually exercise yourself doing with sexual intimacy. We have discussed facts about sex. Now let's proceed. How to reignite the passion in sex life for couples. Maybe they have been having issues. They've not really been enjoying sexual intimacy in marriage. How can they reignite the passion in sex life? Here are some pointers that may need to be practiced daily or as often as possible to keep reigniting the passion in the bedroom. Number 1, create a positive atmosphere for intimacy. A positive atmosphere is very, very important. If the atmosphere is not conducive, then it would affect the sexual life. If you are always fighting and fighting and fighting, you are always antagonizing each other. The second session that will be starting by 9 o'clock tonight, we'll be talking about conflict resolution. I want to assure you, if you have enjoyed any aspect of this program from the beginning, you don't want to miss the next one. Conflict resolution, it is very, very loaded. And I can assure you, you will be very, very blessed. But when a couple are always having conflict, always fighting, always arguing, then they are not creating a positive atmosphere. It will affect intimacy. It will affect the sex life. A woman that is not happy, remember we said that the main sex organ is not actually the one that is down below. It is the mind. So a woman that has, maybe the man has been abusing the woman socially, beats the woman, slaps the woman, and he still wants to sleep with the woman at night, it will not work. Or somebody you have insulted, a woman that you could not even help her out in the kitchen, you could not help her fix stuff in, maybe fix the chores and all of that, and you expect her to submit her body to you on the bed. It will not be very easy. All right, it will be difficult. So create a positive atmosphere for intimacy in your home. Let peace reign. In fact, research has shown that men that I'm giving this to men now. It's an expo. Research has shown that men that kiss their wife every morning, they tend to live longer, about 30 years more than men that don't. Men that do not do that. So men that kiss their wife regularly on a daily basis every day, they tend to live longer. That research also shows that some men that kiss their wife every day, they seldom get involved in accidents. They rarely get involved in accidents. Why? Their mind is at peace. They are doing well. It shows in your health, and then they really fall sick as well. Another research showed that men that actually kiss their wife every day, they tend to be more productive at work. And that is the truth. I can actually, from experience, I can testify to the fact that when I remember when I was running my master's program and I needed to read and understand some very, very difficult courses. I used to tell my wife that, see, one way you can support me to do well in this exam, or one way you can support me to do well in this program, is to actually support me with intimacy. And she was there for me. If I'm reading and I am not getting it and it seems difficult, all I just need to do is have some time of intimacy. And then you will see that you will be able to read and understand. And those are the benefits of it. So it's a beautiful thing. All right. Another way to reignite the passion is maintain a regular date night. Date night, I mentioned it day before yesterday or yesterday. Date night is a time between the man and the woman alone. You are together, the children are not there. It could be in your room, okay? You can have some drinks, maybe something that your wife always crave for. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could just be maybe a bottle of Five Alive, or something you always crave for. All right. Both of you sit together. You can use the dim light. Okay. You talk about yourselves. Bro Joshua, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Sorry for the breaking. We are almost rounding up this session. proceed. So we're talking about how to reignite the passion in your sex life. Next, try something new. Person is always just white rice, white rice, white rice, white rice. Time you will be tired of eating white rice. Actually eat rice. You can do jollof rice, you can do fried rice, different types of rice, coconut rice, and it will spice up. So variety is the spice of life. Very, very exciting. The same thing applies on your bed, your matrimonial bed, as married couples. Try something new. It doesn't have to be maybe the same style all the time. No, feel free. Nobody, there is no rule that says you shouldn't do this in your marriage once the other person is comfortable with it. All right. Once your spouse is comfortable with it, yes, you are good to go. But if your spouse is not comfortable with it, then you need to talk about. Okay. The last but not least says understand the men and women difference. Yes, there is the men and women difference. We have been talking about that. The way a man, the body of a man, what intimacy is to a man is first physical intimacy, sex. It may not be the same for the woman. So we must understand the difference between the man and the woman and try to meet the need of your spouse. That is very important. Like we said, marriage is a ministry, and each of you have an assignment. So the man is there to meet the need of the wife. The wife is there to meet the need of the husband. The Bible even makes us to understand that your body does not belong to you. So when you get married, your spouse now owns you, and when they need you, must be to be available for them. And that brings us to the end of this session. I don't know if anybody has a question based on what we are so far. Brother Joshua, any question?
I don't know. Okay. Although I have, this is just for clarification.
Okay.
Okay, you talked about types of intimacy. I think one of them that stood out was social intimacy, whereby for
Okay.
example, the husband is like maybe a BSc holder and the wife is just maybe a primary school holder. Does
Okay,
that
that
mean
is
that
intellectual. That is intellectual.
intellectual? Yes, that's intellectual. That's exactly. So does that mean that it is advised for people to marry within their intellectual level, like a BSc holder marrying a BSc holder? Is there no room, in quotes, for somebody to like marry at? I don't know if you understand my question.
Marry at what? At
And be
what?
patient with the person, but somebody
Okay.
that is not at your intellectual
Okay, at your
level,
level.
and then be patient with the
Okay.
person, provided the person say the person is not at your intellectual level, academically, obviously,
Okay.
and you marry the person, and you're patient with the person for the person to go to school and to be able to
Okay.
catch up with you intellectually.
Okay,
Idea,
thank
I
you
don't
for the
know.
question. It's a very wonderful question. So I actually addressed that during the conversation. So I said it's very important that as you are growing, let your wife or your spouse grow with you. You marry somebody that is not, leave them on that level. So maybe the man is a BSc holder, the woman is not. When you get married, so grow. As you are increasing, as you are going further in your education, let your wife also do the same. Are you getting it?
I'm
And
getting
vice
it.
versa. So it is not good that one person is far ahead, the other person is just there, not developing. No, there are some men that do that intentionally, and it's not good. It's very bad. In fact, some men will ensure. I heard a story of a man that did not even allow his wife to collect certificate. You know, I dealt with issue that relates to full housewife as one of the teachings. And then I heard the story of a man that did not even from our university so that she cannot use it to work. He just intentionally wanted to make that woman totally dependent on him. And that's increasing in capacity. Encourage your wife, support her financially. If she needs money and assistance, you can help out so that both of you can grow together. That is what marriage is meant to be. Not that one person is the one making the money, the other person is just rendered useless. It is wrong. And in fact, the law of Nigeria forbids that a man makes his wife a full housewife. But a lot of people don't know. A lot of couples, a lot of men that says their wife must be full housewife. They are not aware of the law. And it is actually, it attracts 2 years imprisonment. A man that intentionally subjects his wife to depend on them. Okay, so this session will be out.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I'm telling you the truth. But a lot of people don't know. So it's as though they just want the woman to be totally dependent on them. Time, we will shut down this session now. I believe everybody got this session, right?